The meeting will please come to order. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Trippy Congo, President of City Council. And on behalf of all of Council, again, we want to thank everyone who has joined us virtually for this evening's meeting. Today is Thursday, April the 7th. And just as a reminder to the public and to my colleagues, we will begin, we will return to council chambers for meetings starting next month in May. So just want everyone to be prepared on council. And we are definitely inviting our constituents to come join us beginning in May in council chambers. At this time, we will have opening prayer from Akira Granado.
Heavenly Father, we have assembled to handle the affairs of our city. As we do so, we ask for your guidance and understanding. We pray that our city reaches a place of peace and safety. Keep us out of harm's way and bless those who are in authority. Let respect be key in all our endeavors. Amen.
Amen. This time we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
under
God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask for the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Present.
Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Oliver,
I believe that council members Darby and Oliver asked to be excused, and also Johnson.
thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Fields,
Present.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Here.
Councilman Johnson, for the record, you said President Congo's been excused. Councilman Field,
Present.
Councilwoman Harley, excuse me.
Yes, you didn't call my name.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cabrera,
Present.
Councilman Mills,
Present.
Councilman Spadola, Councilwoman Walsh,
Here.
President Congo.
Here.
We have 9 present and 4 absent.
Thank you. This time we'll have the reading of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Yes, March 17, 2022, City Council met a regular session virtually with remote participation on the above date at 6:30 p.m. President Ernest M. Congo II presiding. The opening prayer was done by Akira Granado, Deputy City Clerk. The Pledge of Allegiance was recited by City Council. Following members responded to a call of the roll. Council members Gray, Darby, Oliver, Harley.
I move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been probably moved and second that the minutes be accepted as written on the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. This time we'll have our committee reports.
March 7, 2022, President, members of Council, City of Wilmington, ladies and gentlemen, we are Finance and Economic Development Committee by virtual meeting with remote participation to whom was referred substitute number 1 to ordinance number 22007 entitled an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's general obligation bonds and general obligation bond anticipation note in order to provide the funds necessary to finance various capital projects specified in the city's fiscal year 2020 and 2022 capital budgets, providing for the sale of the bonds and the note, and authorizing other necessary action. I've given this substitute ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present, Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Harley, Councilman Field, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilman Spadola, President Congo, absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
I move the
I move
committee
the
report be
committee report be
received.
received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
Been properly moved and second that the committee report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried.
March 7, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we're your Finance and Economic Development Committee by virtual meeting with remote participation, to whom was referred ordinance number 22012 entitled an ordinance to authorize and approve a service agreement between the city of Wilmington and Verizon Delaware LLC for N11 dialing service for Verizon's telephone exchange and user subscribers. Have given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, members of the Finance and Economic Development Committee. Those members present, Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Harley, Councilman Field, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilman Spadola, President Congo, and absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
Move the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that committee report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
March 21st, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we, your Public Works and Transportation Committee by virtual meeting with remote participation, to was referred ordinance number 22008 entitled an ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 22002 WDPS between the city of Wilmington and Municipal Maintenance Company for pump valve and miscellaneous mechanical equipment maintenance services. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members of Public Works present, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Field, Councilwoman Brigida Fields, Councilman Spadola, President Congo, absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
I move the committee report be received, recorded, and filed. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that committee report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
March 21st, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we, your Public Works and Transportation Committee by virtual meeting with remote participation, to who was referred ordinance number 22009 entitled an ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 22003 WDPS between the city of Wilmington and Willier Electric Motor Repair Company, Inc. for water distribution system, electrical equipment, management, and maintenance services. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members of Public Works and Transportation that were present, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Field, Councilwoman Brigida Fields, Councilman Spadola, President Congo, and absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
I move the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that committee report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I have one more, President Congo. March 21st, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we, your Public Works and Transportation Committee by virtual meeting with remote participation, to was referred ordinance number 22010 entitled an ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 22001 PWR between the city of Wilmington and DSC Solutions LLC for janitorial services at the municipal complex. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present of the Public Works and Transportation, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Field, Councilwoman Brigida Fields, Councilman Spadola, President Congo, and absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
I move the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that committee report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. At this time, we will have our treasurer's report.
April 7, 2022, total investment, $481,248,616.08. Total cash on hand, $11,431,133.31. Grand total, $492,679,749.39. Dwayne Sims, City Treasurer.
I move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I'll accept the motion to move to accept all non-legislative business.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Second.
Been properly moved and second to accept all non-legislative business. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Do any council members have anyone to recognize or groups to recognize this evening? If so, please raise your hand. Councilwoman Brigida Fields.
Yes, I will be, for Councilwoman Oliver, I'll be reading a recognition for Mark Marani, Laura Wisniewski, and Father Stephen Hutnick. I believe they're in the,
That's how she's pronounced.
did I pronounce it wrong? Okay, April 7th, 2022. Sponsor, Council Member Xanthia Oliver, excuse me. Whereas it is the sense of City Council to honor individuals and organizations who have demonstrated outstanding achievement and are deserving of recognition and acknowledgement, Council Member Xanthia Oliver would like to acknowledge the contributions of Ukrainian community members to the City of Wilmington. And whereas Ukraine is located on the southeastern edge of the European continent, the administrative capital is Kavai, known as the breadbasket of Europe. It is fertile. Its fertile soil produces harvest for the entire region. And whereas Wilmington has welcomed Ukrainians since the early 20th century, the work as entrepreneurs, business leaders, philanthropists, policymakers, and in countless other roles towards the betterment of our community. The connection they built between their homeland and the city add to our local character. We thank our Ukrainian residents for graciously sharing their food, culture, and traditions generation after generation. And whereas Mark Marani, Father Stephen Hutnick, and Laura Wisniewski, along with other members of the local Ukrainian community, have worked diligently, to raise more than $100,000 in fundraising contributions to hold gatherings, to bring friends and neighbors together, and to promote greater understanding of their homeland during this difficult time. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Council of the City of Wilmington would like to acknowledge these leaders in Wilmington's Ukrainian community for how they demonstrate compassion and mobilize in aid of their native land, and also to express appreciation for Ukrainians who have come to call this great city home. And Councilwoman Oliver would like to say a special thank you to Laura, who has given her so much insight on what's going on over there in Ukraine. Thank you. I believe we have Mark and Laura, if they would like to say something.
I'm not sure if Mark wanted to go first. See if he's in. Well, while we're waiting to see, oh, there he is.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank,
I'll follow up.
thank you, Councilwoman Fields, and thank you, President Congo and members of the City Council for this resolution. I can't tell you how tough it has been for this community as well as all Americans. for the war that's going on against Ukraine. Originally, as mentioned in the resolution, the Ukrainian community actually started out in Southbridge and on Heald Street, both where right now the New Calvary Baptist Church is, and Bishop Vincent Oliver is where the Ukrainian Catholic Church came from, beginning of 1900, as well as the Orthodox Church across the street on South Heald. There are about 10,000 Ukrainian Americans in the state. And as I mentioned in the flag raising that occurred, and we had Mayor Brzezicki, Councilperson Oliver, as well as Councilperson Spadola, other dignitaries. In the first week, we literally had the entire state of Delaware move, which happened in Ukraine in the first week. They had about 1 million people move into other countries. Now we're up to 10 million people, whether internally displaced or now in other countries, and Poland has been received more than 2 million Ukrainian refugees. So about a quarter of the population has moved. We are fighting in the streets. We will fight in the fields. There will be no knees taken. This is an existential war against Ukraine, against the people of Ukraine, against democracy itself. And whether we want to look at it or not, don't avert your eyes. We're seeing a fight to the finish. And I thank the City Council for recognizing my 35 to 40 years of community service within the Ukrainian American community, for recognizing the challenges that we have, and with God's strength and our strength, that we will succeed to defeat the Russians. I can only say that we will continue to have variety of community events, variety of fundraisers, prayer sessions. I know that Councilperson Gray has the Ukrainian Catholic Church now in her district, and Councilperson Harley had the original churches over in Southbridge. Very much familiar with the history over in Southbridge, and I want to thank again the City Council for recognizing the Ukrainian American community and the contributions it's given to Wilmington, but also the state of Delaware. Slava Ukraina. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you. Laura?
Well, I think Mark captured it perfectly, but just wanted to give my thanks to City Council for recognizing the Ukrainian population tonight and everything that's happening overseas. My grandparents actually immigrated over here from Ukraine, and I grew up very much so in that culture. So this is near and dear to my heart as well. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to recognize the challenges that we're facing across in Ukraine. And I know I've been honored to work with Mark previously with AMPOL and within the community here in Wilmington. And there is a strong Polish and Ukrainian community, which is very nice to have in Delaware. So I just wanted to express the thanks. I know, with my opportunity working at the Lieutenant Governor's office, we've been able to join on some events. We also worked with Pam Rehabilitation Center down in Dover, and I know Mark and Father Hutnick have been available working with that and a number of fundraising events across the state. So definitely welcome everyone to continue to give their support, go online, donate, provide goods, anything you can do obviously helps the communities over there. And we're hoping to have a couple more events across the state, both Wilmington, Dover, where we can collect some goods and be able to help some of the families across seas and the children over there. So my sincerest thanks to you guys, and thank you to Councilwoman Oliver, Fields, and everyone here. We really appreciate your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. President. I just want to say I join in with Council Member Oliver in presenting this recognition resolution to Mark and to Laura. As Mark said, I learned from Edith Pridgeon about 6 months ago about their church being one of the first churches, Ukrainian churches. And as a result of the church, being one of the first historic, there's going to be some opportunities for them to improve the church, renovate the church. And I also have one of the first Polish churches, I believe, down on the 7th Street Peninsula, that's in the 4th District as well. So I just wanted to say that I have been praying for Ukrainians, of course, in Ukraine, and also my Ukrainian sisters and brothers here in the city of Wilmington and the state of Delaware. And I will continue to keep them in my prayers and to offer donations as well. So thank you, Laura, for sharing. Can you put that information or make sure that we get that information with our city council staff, please?
Yep, definitely.
Okay.
I'll make sure we keep you guys in loop for the future events that we're doing. I know Mark has a number of events as well that he can probably share over with everyone. And the more you can spread it over your platforms and everything like that will be helpful. And if you guys have any ideas, for events that we should be hosting, or, businesses that might want to donate some of their proceeds for a night, anything like that, that'll help, and we're here to help and organize. I'm sure Mark can jump in.
One of the local businesses is in the 8th District, and Frank's Liquors, and they did an event probably 3 weeks ago, and they raised, right now they're probably in excess of $5,000 helping out with relief to Ukraine. So I wanted to give Frank's Liquors a shout out for what they've been able to do. And they did this on their own. It wasn't through any prompting. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. This time I will return back to Councilwoman Fields for any closing comments.
Just to follow up, I just want to say, we all are praying for the Ukrainian country and our brothers and sisters over here as well. And just know that, we're here for support, and thank you for keeping us engaged and making us aware of what's going on. And, you can reach out to us anytime. We're really reachable. So again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for letting the city know exactly what's going on and what you're doing in order to raise money for your brothers and sisters over there in the Ukraine. That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Sinead Darby. Councilwoman Darby, did you have any comments, or you just want to be recognized?
I just wanted to be recognized. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Carrera, did you have a resolution recognition?
I do have a resolution to recognize our Teacher of the Year, but I'm not sure if she's on. It's Melissa. I was looking for her in the chat room, so maybe she's under a different name. Miss Melissa Morris. Could you let us know if you're with us today? She was invited and sent a link, but maybe she couldn't make it. We could do this at another time.
Okay, all right, thank you. Councilwoman, I'd like to add to the agenda a few resolutions. Excuse me. Recognition for Shirley Posey from Councilwoman Oliver, and also Councilwoman Darby. I believe you have a resolution that you wanted to be recognized.
Yes, I do have a resolution. I am bringing it up now. This resolution is in recognition for Black Maternal Health Care Week. Black Maternal Health Care Week happens every April. And I'm going to read the resolution, and then I have a few guests here. I have 2 doulas and a midwife who's going to speak to this week. Whereas it is in the sense of City Council to honor individuals who have demonstrated outstanding achievement and are deserving of recognition and acknowledgement. And whereas 2022 marks the 5th anniversary of Black Maternal Health Week, BMHW is a week dedicated to encouraging awareness, activism, and community building around the ongoing challenges surrounding Black women's maternal health. And whereas there has been persistent racial disparities in maternal health outcomes, nationally, Black mothers are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related complications than white mothers. In the state of Delaware, 24% of Black respondents in the PRAMS, the Pregnancy Risk Assessment Monitoring System survey, reported having preterm labor. More than 1/3 of Black mothers died giving birth, and 17% reported experiencing postpartum depression. In the city of Wilmington, the mortality rate for babies born to Black mothers is nearly 3 times the national average for babies of all other races. And just to add to that resolution, the city of Wilmington has the highest infant mortality rate of Black babies in the whole state. And whereas the 2022 Black Maternal Healthcare Week theme is Building for Liberation, centering Black mamas, Black families, and Black systems of care, it aims to bring attention to the importance of the scholars and who are working to improve all facets of Black women's healthcare and to the global challenge of eradicating maternal mortality. And whereas Black Maternal Healthcare Week is intended to deepen, I went away on my screen, to deepen the national conversation about Black maternal healthcare in America and to promote community-driven policy, research, and care. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Wilmington that the Wilmington City Council encourages continued action in the ongoing fight to end Black maternal health disparities and is in strong support of the recognition of April 11th through the 17th as Black Maternal Healthcare Week. So I have 2 guest speakers, 3 people who are going to come up. Janae, Teresa, and Dr. Michelle Drew. The fight is happening here in the state of Delaware to addressing the disparities. I have a nonprofit called Black Mothers in Power, where we're working on to address Black maternal health care rates in our state and to helping to reduce the disparity. So I want to welcome my guests and honor you guys and thank you for the work that you're doing throughout the state for Black families, Black babies, and Black moms.
Thank you, Councilwoman Darby. I just want to say good evening to you all and thank you for giving us this time. My name is Michelle Drew. I am a certified nurse midwife. I am born and raised in Wilmington and I'm proud to serve in the community from which I originate. My family has lived in the 3rd district literally all my life since my mother bought that house in 1969 and I lived next door. And we still, our church is at 2611 Governor Prince in the 1st district where I started Ubuntu in 2019. When I came home, I practiced as a nurse midwife for 22 years now. If I live and nothing happened, this will be 23 years. I was very surprised to come back and find out that statistically, infant mortality in the state of Delaware was trending down, trending to the point where it was about 48th in the United States. And at that time, that Black babies were 7 times more likely to die than their white counterparts in the state. And it wasn't regardless of income or education. We know from looking at the data and the research that it's not because Black people are faulty, that Black families are faulty, that Black mothers are biologically inferior, but because of the years of systematic and systemic oppression that keeps our people earning less than their white counterparts, but also the racism that we face within the medical industrial complex. And I saw it from my own lived experience in practice When I started Ubuntu, we started with just community outreach and how could we find ways to assist people from the effects of poverty. So we serve patients and clients in every district, from the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd district, near where we're located, and even in the 5th district in the Hilltop and West Center City area with food, diapers, and everything else. And in 2021, through the grace of God and through the work of my 2 colleagues who are on the call with us, we now offer a community doula service where any mother who has Medicaid or has an income of 200% of the federal poverty level will be paired with a Black doula who will walk with her all the way throughout their pregnancy and into the 12-week postpartum period at absolutely no charge and no cost at all to them. And so we really want to thank you for the work that you do in this recognition, but also encourage and beg you to look and see what's possible. The statistics that we've grown when Black women and Black babies are cared for by a Black midwife and Black doulas, because it is not race that is causing Black and maternal and infant mortality, it's racism. And again, thank you all for your time in this resolution.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Darby. Councilwoman Darby.
Yeah, my service keeps going in and out, but I don't know if Teresa and Janae wants to speak, or if you're fine with this, Dr. Michelle Drew.
It's definitely going to be Dr. Drew at the moment. I would like to say thank you all for recognizing us in this resolution, however, and then I'm going to go back on mute because it's a little loud.
Thank you, Janae. But yeah, so thank you guys for the work that you're doing in the state and the awareness and educating people about the disparities that do exist in maternal.
Thank you again.
Having connection issues.
Well, thank you again, Councilwoman Darby, and thank you, President Congo, for all of your support and work.
All right, thank you. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you for everything that you do. At this time, I'd like to recognize some sympathy resolutions from all of council. Dr. Terrence Newton Sr., from Councilwoman Harley, Barbara Washam, also from Councilwoman Harley, Elaine Camper, from Councilwoman Oliver, Donald Lee Black, Jeffrey Allen Snow, Vernon Magic Williams, Diane Adams Williams, and Clinton Moultrie. And from Councilwoman Walsh, a sympathy resolution for Patrick Hemfield, and recognition for Ronell Wilmore, who retired from the Wilmington Fire Department, and also Jose Prado, who also retired from the Wilmington Fire Department. This time, I don't think that anyone has signed up for public comment. Just want to confirm that with WITN. Make sure no one signed up last minute before we move on.
There are no public comment sign ups.
Okay, thank you. This time we will move to legislative business. Councilmember Gray.
Nothing this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Darby. She might be still having connection issues, but I don't think she has any legislation. Councilmember Oliver. I believe
I'll be reading her. Should I wait till it's my turn? Or I can read it for hers?
Yes, you can go now, Councilwoman Field.
Okay, thank you. I have legislation, Mr. President. Ordinance 22-2008.
Ordinance 22-008, Agenda 0141, an ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 22002 WDPS between the City of Wilmington and Municipal Maintenance Company for pump, valve, and miscellaneous mechanical equipment maintenance services.
We have a second.
Mr. President, I move wait a minute, I'm sorry.
Yes, you're correct.
I'm right, okay. I move known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea, nay vote on the question. Any hands raised? Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Darby. Mr. President, even though she's on it with no vote, I can't mark her. I have to mark her absent.
Okay. I understand.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
thank you. Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
One more time, Councilwoman Darby. That's 9 yeas and 4 absent.
Declared adopted. You may continue, Councilwoman Fields.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 22009, agenda 0142, in ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 22003 WDPS between the City of Wilmington and Willier Electric Motor Repair Company, Inc. for water distribution system, electrical equipment management, and maintenance services.
Mr. President, I move that this be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea, nay vote on the question. Seeing no hands raised, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes,
9 yeas and 4 absent.
declared adopted.
Council President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 22010, agenda 0143, an ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 22001 PWR between the City of Wilmington and DSC Solutions LLC for janitorial services at the municipal complex.
Mr. President, I move that it be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea, nay vote on the question. Not seeing any hands raised. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes,
9 yeas and 4 absent.
declared adopted.
And Mr. President, before I go any further, for the record, it looks like Councilwoman Darby has dropped off.
Yes, she did ask to be excused after her resolution.
Okay, so I can just continue to call her name. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-018, agenda 0155, an ordinance to amend chapter 13 of the city code to increase civil penalties for commercial establishments committing health and sanitation violations.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend chapter 13 of the city code to increase civil penalties for commercial establishments committing health and sanitation violations.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that this be known the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Public Works and Transportation Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Public Works and Transportation Committee.
That's all I have for this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Fields. Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a
Cut out a little bit, Councilwoman Harley.
You muted.
Councilwoman Harley.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I said I have I have a resolution to present, agenda item number 0156.
Resolution 22-014, agenda 0156, whereas pursuant to Wilmington C Charter 101, the city may acquire, hold, manage, and dispose of property on such terms as it deems proper for any municipal purpose. And whereas Wilmington C 2621A authorizes the Department of Real Estate and Housing to conduct disposition proceedings of real property owned by the city. And whereas Wilmington City C 2-6221 provides that the council shall by resolution declare property to be approved for disposition and authorize the conduct of disposition proceedings by the Department of Real Estate and Housing. And
I move
whereas
this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea nay vote.
Second, please.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the resolution be received, recorded, and filed, adopted by a yea or nay vote. On the question,
Yes, Mr. President, this resolution declares 3 parcels of real estate located at the southeast corner of 4th and Shipley Streets, Wilmington, Delaware 19801, being Newcastle County tax parcels number 26043, 10-188, 189, and 190, which are commonly known as Humboldt Park, to be surplus and approved for disposition, and authorizes the Department of Real Estate and Housing to conduct disposition proceedings. We had a robust committee meeting as it relates to this legislation. There were a number of questions asked as it related to this legislation. And one thing that came out of the discussion is that this particular property, once it gets appraised, it will, RFPs will go out as it relates to who actually will be getting this property. So I just wanted to share that there was a robust discussion in the committee meeting, and all questions were asked, and there were no residents or business owners in the area that oppose this particular legislation.
okay, thank you, Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I was part of that robust discussion. It was a very good discussion, but there were several areas that weren't clarified. One, I wanted to know if you or Mr. Weir are aware of any parties that are interested in this, in purchasing this lot. And if so, are there any ideas of how it's going to be used? Also, what was not answered was what would happen to the artwork in the park? Someone that used to do cleanup or work on the park years ago said that there's a statue there or a piece of artwork, and they were inquiring, they were from the public, as to what would happen to that. And my third thing is that I have spoken to people who voluntarily contacted me that are concerned that if that becomes a residential development, that there's very restricted parking. They even brought up that when the firemen had their parade, all the trucks parked on Shipley Street and blocked everyone in. So they couldn't even get out. So they said there's a problem with parking down that area. So I just wanted to know if there's any idea if there's going to be residential, and if so, is there going to be an allocation for parking? These are just some questions that we did discuss, but I don't think I got an answer to any of them. So I'd like to know if Councilman Harley can answer them, or if we can get, well, I wanted them answered before the vote, but if she has some insight into those answers. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry.
Did you want to respond?
Oh, well, first of all, I will say it would have been appreciated if the questions were asked prior to tonight to get all the answers. Of course, as far as fire trucks and things of that nature and all of the different interested parties, I would not know that on the fly. So I cannot answer it accurately. So I'm going to defer it because of that reason. I wish that council member would have reached out to ask me those questions prior to tonight. And that's pretty much what I have to say.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I just have a statement. With the city's west side being as densely populated as it is, I would not ordinarily vote for the disposition of any parcel that's zoned as open space. But because of the park's location, that there's going to be no play equipment that's going to be displaced for children or anything. It's not like it's a playground that's being torn down. And it seems that Deltec has actually already created some space for their students to have, like, a sitting area. I will be supporting this resolution.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Gray, is your hand still up from last time? Or did you have another question or comment?
No, these were brought up in the committee meeting. A citizen brought up the statue, the piece of artwork. A citizen in public comment brought that up. And I asked if anyone had any idea about who was interested in the piece of property, and no one answered that. So they were brought up in the committee, and I just thought in the meantime, maybe we had some answers to those, but that's okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And excuse me, seeing no other hands raised, Councilwoman Harley, any final comments before roll call?
Oh, no, you can call the roll call.
All right, thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
9 yeas and 4 absent.
Okay. I'm sorry. I needed to pause for the president to say what he was saying.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying anything.
Was that declared adopted? I'm sorry.
Yes, declared adopted.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. President, on behalf of Council Member Johnson, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading. Agenda item 0139.
Second, because
Mr. President, may I be recognized?
Yes, Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes, thank you. I just want to state that we're actually going a little out of order, and I do see that Councilman Johnson actually has quite a bit of legislation. So I just had the one thing I needed to take care of.
Okay, now we can we'll go to you first, Councilwoman McCoy. That's no problem.
I need to ask a question.
Yes.
So we started with the legislation that I just announced, 0139, we're going to wait.
Yes, we're gonna do that
So
right after Councilwoman McCoy does her legislation.
Okay, sure. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right,
Thank
Mr.
you.
President, yes. Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 22019, Agenda 0146. An ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 21029 PR between the City of Wilmington and Preferred Meal Systems, Inc. for the Summer Food Service Program.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to authorize and approve 2 one-year extensions of contract 21029 PR between the City of Wilmington and Preferred Meal System, Inc. for the Summer Food Service Program.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Education, Youth and Families Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Education, Youth and Families Services Committee.
That is all.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCoy. Councilwoman Harley for Councilman Johnson's legislation.
Yes, okay, Mr. President, again, on behalf of Councilmember Johnson, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 22007, Agenda 0139. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's general obligation bonds as general obligation bond anticipation note in order to provide for the funds necessary to finance various capital projects specified in the city's fiscal year 2022 capital budget, providing for the sale of the bonds and the note, and authorizing other necessary action.
Mr. President, I have a substitute to present in lieu of that ordinance.
Substitute number 1 to ordinance number 22007, revision 1 to agenda 0139. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's general obligation bonds and general obligation bond anticipation note in order to provide the funds necessary to finance various capital projects specified in the city's fiscal year 2020 and 2022 capital budgets, providing for the sale of the bonds and the note, and authorizing other necessary action.
Mr. President, I move that it be known as the enacting clause of the substitute ordinance and call for a yea and a vote.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the substitute ordinance and called for a yea and nay vote. On the question?
Yes, Mr. President, this particular legislation deals with the general obligation bond. It authorizes the issuance of up to $15 million aggregate principal amount of general obligation bonds and up to 15 million aggregate principal amount of a general obligation bond anticipation note in order to provide temporary and permanent financing for any duly authorized capital project of the city specified in the city's capital budgets for its fiscal years ending June 30th, 2020 and June 30th, 2022, and to pay the costs associated with the issuance of the bonds and the note.
All right, thank you. And seeing no hands raised, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo,
Yes,
9 yeas and 4 absent.
declared adopted.
Mr. President, on behalf of Councilmember Johnson, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading, agenda item number 0147.
Ordinance 22012, agenda 0147, an ordinance to authorize and approve a service agreement between the City of Wilmington and Verizon Delaware LLC for N11 dialing service for Verizon's telephone exchange and user subscribers.
Mr. President, I move that it be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for the yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea and nay vote. On the question?
Yes, Mr. President, the ordinance authorizes the city to enter into a service agreement with Verizon Delaware LLC 4311 dialing service to allow Verizon's telephone exchange end users, subscribers to access non-emergency city services by dialing the abbreviated telephone number 311. The fiscal impact of this ordinance is a month-to-month contract with a price not to exceed $5,000 per year.
All right, thank you. Seeing no hands raised. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
yes,
President Congo.
Yes,
9 yeas and 4 absent.
declared adopted.
Mr. President, on behalf of Councilmember Johnson, I have a resolution to present, agenda item number 0157.
Excuse me, Mr. President,
Yes,
it's my understanding that Councilman Johnson was going to be holding agenda item
Yeah.
0157.
that's
Okay.
what I was informed also.
Can you repeat that?
I was informed that Councilman Johnson is holding.
Okay.
Resolution.
Okay, I didn't get that memo, but okay. All right, I will move to agenda item number 0158. Mr. President, on behalf of Councilmember Johnson, I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-020, agenda 0158, in order to authorize and approve a contract between the City of Wilmington and Third Line Inc. for monitoring and auditing services.
First reading of the ordinance.
In order to authorize and approve a contract between the City of Wilmington and Third Line Inc. for monitoring and auditing services.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that it be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
That's all I have tonight, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Councilman Field.
Yes, Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the second and final reading.
I believe it's the first and second reading, Councilman Field.
For the first and second reading.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Ordinance 22-021, agenda 0159, in ordinance to accept the dedication of a private street that extends in a northwest direction from the 2400 block.
Mr. President, I move that,
From the 2400 block of Riddle Avenue and the streets to the official city map and name the streets as Riddle Avenue.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to accept a dedication of a private street that extends in northwest direction from the 2400 block of Riddle Avenue and the streets to the official city map and name the streets as Riddle Avenue.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that this be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Public Works and Transportation Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Public Works and Transportation Committee.
And that's all tonight, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Councilman Field. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have an ordinance. Mr. President, I have an ordinance I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-022, agenda 0160, in ordinance to authorize and approve a one-year extension of contract 22004 LI between the City of Wilmington and R&A Contractors LLC for vacant property services.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to authorize and approve a one-year extension of contract 22004 LI between the City of Wilmington and R&A Contractors LLC for vacant property services.
I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee.
Second.
second,
It's been probably moved and seconded as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 22015, Agenda 0161, whereas the Victim Violent Incident Clearance Technological Investigative Methods Act of 2021, HR 5768, was introduced in response to a more than 30% rise in the national murder rate between 2019 and 2020, and clearance rates for homicides have been trending downward for decades. And whereas the city of Wilmington has a homicide rate of 44.2 per 100,000 people, which is the 13th highest in the nation. Wilmington Police Chief Robert Tracy reported that the Wilmington Police Department was only able to clear and close 40% of murder cases in 2020, which was below the national average. This is also down from a 67% clearance rate in 2019 and 60% in 2018. To date, more than half of the cold cases in the state of Delaware concerning Wilmington residents.
Mr. President, I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, Mr. President, I did want the clerk to read what this resolution is, and we definitely want to support this, being with all the challenges that we have here in our city, to make sure that we do provide the resources, not only to the police department in search for the culprits, but also to the actual victims. And sometimes what I find happens, people think that, oh, well, you know, you have issues where children, I'm just going to use the example of children, witness shootings. They come outside, they see the remnants of what happened the night before. They hear the gunshots. We know that some of these bullets penetrate and get into people's homes. And we've been fortunate that we don't have as many tragedies, but there have been tragedies, including the little boy at the barber shop when that bullet came through. And I know that people like Dr. J. Macklin, Stop the Violence, they have taken up, you know, since that happened, to really try to stop the violence in our community. But as we see this trending nationwide, it just seems to get worse. But the most important thing is that the victims are not following through, and sometimes the resources aren't there. Here in Wilmington, we do have resources for the victims. I was fortunate to be able to use those services when my own son had a gun pointed to him when he was walking the dog after school, and his life was threatened to the point that he was so scared that he didn't even say anything to me. I found out about it 2 weeks later. So it was very scary for me as a parent. And I was able to take my son to get the necessary counseling. And I knew that he needed it when he was choked up, wanting to cry, because I had him talk to the police chief and tell him what happened. And he was more scared that these boys were going to find him. In his own words, they were going to shoot him dead, find him in school and shoot him dead, and nobody would ever know. And he was just in 5th grade. So this act is very important, and I'm sure that our council colleagues will support this. And we just want to make sure that we do our job as leaders to make sure that people in the community know that these resources exist and that there should be more funding for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I agree 100% that these resources should be available. My question is, where are the resources going to be coming from, the state or the city?
It's the state. It's a resolution to support the legislation in the state.
Yeah, right. I did see that HR 5768. And so again, this is just city council letting the state know that we support the bill and hoping that it gets passed, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's all right. I just wanted to make sure.
If I may add, Mr. President and Councilwoman, What'll happen is, as it is now, we here in Wilmington have our Department of Victim Services, the Victim Service Unit, and we have resources for that. Some do come from the city, other from federal and state resources, but this would be to increase those resources. And of course, all the different jurisdictions within the state of Delaware would have access to this. And I would certainly hope that Wilmington would get a big chunk of that, being that we do seem to have the highest homicide and violence rates up here. And Sussex County is seeing an influx as well.
Agreed. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor on this
Thank you,
legislation.
Councilwoman.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor. And if no one else has any questions or comments, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
9 yeas and 4 absent.
Declared adopted.
Mr. President, I do want to add to the clerk that Councilman Walsh had asked to be a sponsor, a co-sponsor of this. I did submit that, but I don't see that her name was added. If that could be presented with her name as well when we send it to the state, please.
Yes, if we can, you said Councilwoman Walsh?
Yes.
All right, and I see that Councilman Mills has his hand raised.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to be co-sponsor as well, if possible. Thank you.
If we can add Councilwoman Walsh and Councilman Mills to be co-sponsored.
So noted, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 22-016, Agenda 0162, whereas House Bill 303 would amend Chapter 33, Title 18 of Delaware Code by adding a new 3370E to require coverage of annual behavioral health well check. This bill amends Chapter 35, Title 18 of Delaware Code by adding a new subsection 3571Z to require coverage of annual behavioral health well check. This bill also amends Chapter 5, Title 31 of Delaware Code by adding a new subsection 530 to require coverage of annual behavioral health well check. This bill also amends Chapter 52, Title 29 of Delaware Code by adding a new subsection 5215 to require coverage of annual behavioral health well check. And whereas an estimated 53 million Americans have a mental illness, and of those, 14.2 million have a serious mental illness. Approximately 1/2 of the 53 million Americans with mental illness and 1/3 with severe mental illness are not receiving treatment. Insurance coverage for regular mental health checkups will increase access to mental health professionals who can identify and treat those with behavioral issues to mitigate the impact on the individuals and their communities.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that this resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea and nay vote on the question.
Yes, Mr. President, this resolution is also in support of legislation that is in Dover, and that would be to make sure that all insurance providers would include a mental health checkups as part of the annual checkup. I think we can agree how important this is in a society where we're seeing more and more violent acts from people who are mentally ill, and it is a disease. It is not something that should be stigmatized. It is something that I think it's important that we all see and recognize the symptoms within ourselves, and sometimes something that doctors might be able to catch on that we might not see, and it would be preventative. You hear about, the mass shootings, you hear of all the terrible things that happen, and you think of the folks that are behind those incidents. And now, especially after people being, as they felt, locked in their homes because of pandemic, children who did not socialize by going to school, teenagers. I mean, right now, we really have more of a mental health crisis in our country more than ever because of the incidents that have gotten us here. I'm not going to lie. I recently had a dream that I was at a church, but it was a council meeting. And yes, there was a gunman and there was a gun being, just on my body, like telling me that I'm not going to be trouble, so he's not going to kill me. And I was with my grandson, and that happened this week. So I don't even know why that dream came about, but it was so unsettling as we think about going out to public places and all the things that are happening that could be prevented if people got the help that they needed ahead of time. So I think this is very important for our state, and it's very important for our nation. And I hope that, again, our colleagues will support it and that we can push this through in Dover, and that we, reach out to people and make sure that they do vote for these important changes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor on this legislation as well. I am in full support of people, individuals getting the help that is needed. No pun intended at all, but just, the incident that we all witnessed at the Oscars, I feel as though this could be included in that as well. Somebody may think, that's a stretch, but not really, because it definitely deals with, the whole gambit of mental health and our awareness. And if we were more conscious and did annual mental checkups as we do our regular health checkups when we go to see our doctors. I think that we definitely, as a city, a state, and a country will definitely be in a much better place, but it is definitely needed. And I really hope that the Senate and the House will definitely vote pass this bill, because it's definitely needed. And as Councilmember Cabrera just shared, post-COVID, there are a lot of people that we're seeing, at least I know that I'm seeing, with just some very peculiar type of behavior. So this is a good piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor to this also. Coming from a clinical background, a lot of things that we individualize are based on mental health problems. A lot of the drug problems are people self-medicating themselves, and violence is an inadequate, a lot of times a result of inadequate ways of, or lack of ways of dealing with their anger and their frustrations and other mental health problems that we all have problems. So I wholly hope that they adopt this, and that more people, especially in the Black and Brown community, utilize services, mental health services, to find ways to work through their problems and to positively do away with their aggression. Like Councilwoman Harley said, Academy Award incident is definitely included in this. This is an inappropriate example of a male, a Black male, expressing his anger. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mills.
Yes, Mr. President, I too would like to be a co-sponsor as well, and being a mental health professional in our city and working with youth and families. I wholeheartedly support. We definitely see the outcomes of behavioral health and how it affects our community, definitely in our city. Slight anger problems lead to gunfights all the time, and our murder rate is increasing. And some of these things, conflicts can be resolved if we can just get into the kids, reach them in an early state, and be able to have conflict resolution, prevent some of this violence in our cities. So I definitely want to sponsor and thank Councilwoman for bringing this to the committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just would like to be also added to the legislation. I think this is actually a great piece of legislation. And I do see that we seem to have a lot of experts that are here within our council dealing with that. But on the flip side of that, I'm actually a mother of an adult child with behavioral health issues. And I don't see where Delaware is actually where it needs to be. And I just think that this will be something that will help us move forward. So I also would like to be added as a sponsor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fields.
Yes, I'm not going to repeat everyone else. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor as well to this good piece of legislation. This resolution that you're sending down. So thank you for bringing it up, and I hope it's going to pass. Thank you, Councilwoman Cabrera.
All right, thank you. I'd also like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No other hands raised. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Total 9 yeas and 4 absent.
Declared adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one final resolution to present.
Resolution 22-017, Agenda 0163, whereas many as 40% of deaths in the United States are avoidable with the proper preventative care. Many U.S. citizens avoid preventative care due to high costs and a lack of health insurance. The delay of preventative care puts vulnerable people at a higher risk of medical complications and more costly emergency visits. 64% of Americans report that $400 in unexpected expenses can cause financial hardship, which immigrant households, both documented and undocumented, are especially vulnerable because they are typically lower wage earners than U.S. citizens. And whereas an estimated 46% of undocumented immigrants and 35% of undocumented children do not have health insurance in the United States compared to 5% of U.S. household children. And whereas in Delaware, as many as 5,000 children in low-income households lack health insurance despite meeting the CHIP or Medicaid income threshold. In the city of Wilmington, 6% of the population is foreign-born. The current median household income for city residents is $45,032, which is lower than Delaware's median household income of $68,287, and the national average of $62,843. Income is a crucial detriment of the affordability of unexpected expenses.
Mr. President, I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea or nay vote.
Second.
Oh, it's been properly moved and seconded. This resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by. On the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did want the data to be shared so that people can hear, number one, the fact that the city of Wilmington is in a state of lower income. 45,000 is the median wage, which is at least $20,000 less than what we see the average is nationwide, and even more so than the average in the state of Delaware of 68,000. That's, that's a $20,000 difference. So a medical bill or thinking that you're going to get a bill actually keeps people from going to get care. In many cases, they don't have primary care, and their form of care is when they go to an ER when something really happens. They're compromised with their health. And as many of you might know, my background is I was a navigator for 10 years with Obamacare when it was first launched. So I went up and down the state to educate people of having health insurance and how important that was. And I think of all the people that are American citizens that have access, that can either get Medicaid, because some actually qualify for Medicaid but didn't have it, and all the others that were not able to afford insurance, and then the ones that just didn't know anything about it. But now, thank God, because of the Affordable Care, it is affordable. We want more people to have access to insurance, but you have this whole other population that cannot access insurance. And I'm not saying that we need to give them free medical benefits, but at least the children, if nothing else, if the children get that care, there's plenty of statistics and information out there to show that the earlier that children get their care, whether it's the vaccinations, their primary visits, it's going to can prevent long-term illnesses. And we know the disparities in communities that are in low income when it comes to health. It's our communities that have the highest levels of cancer, high blood pressure, deaths due to disease, because that preventative care is not in place. So instead of having more of a financial burden on our systems, not just in Delaware, but nationwide, let's provide the necessary insurance so that parents can take their children to get this preventative care as we move into a better system of healthcare, because we're still having challenges with many people walking around uninsured. But this is another way to tackle that challenge that we have here in our city, our nation, and our state. So again, I commend the work that the legislators are doing and ask again that my council colleagues that we get behind these resolutions, make some phone calls in addition to sending them down there, because it is important that they get passed. And I appreciate your comments and your support this evening on all of them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And seeing no hands raised, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo,
Yes,
9 yeas and 4 absent.
declared adopted.
Thank you to all my colleagues this evening.
All right, thank you.
That is all
Council-
this evening, Mr. President. I don't have any further legislation or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman Mills.
Nothing tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Walsh.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we will go to petitions and communication. Councilwoman Gray.
Nothing this evening. And may I be excused?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Harley.
Oh, yes, Mr. President, I just wanted to announce that the city of Wilmington is going to have a community cleanup on April the 23rd. There is a link that is being sent out for communities to sign up. For those that are listening that want to sign up, they can reach out to Tanya Phillips here at the city of Wilmington, and she can give them guidance, send out the email. The purpose of registering is so that the city of Wilmington can prepare for the pickups after the cleanups. And I'm just encouraging all the council members to reach out to your civic associations, to encourage them to be involved, get involved, so we can continue to work together to keep our city clean. And I just think it's also an opportunity for us to connect with our constituents and to just build relationships as well. So again, that's Saturday, April the 23rd, and individuals can reach out to Tanya Phillips in the Constituent Services office. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fields.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Councilwoman Harley, for saying about the community cleanup and just keeping our community engaged, because that's going to be a big day for us. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I have nothing tonight but a quote. My quote is, "Success is not failure. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue it is the courage to continue that counts." That's by Winston Churchill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Also, Councilwoman Walsh, you may be excused. Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just actually wanted to I want to say congratulations. There are two congratulations. One is for Master Corporal Cynthia Dotson. She actually had a walkout a few days ago. She was 37 years for the Wilmington Police Department, and she actually, I believe, was an officer in Pennsylvania as well before she moved here to Wilmington. So as long as I've known Aunt Cynthia, she's been with the police. So I just want to say congratulations. She deserves her rest. The other thing is I would like to congratulate West End Neighborhood House in Cornerstone West. They actually had a like a ribbon cutting on Tuesday, the Lifelines Housing and Drop-In Center for the Homeless Youth. It was their grand opening. This is something I've actually heard about for some time now. I'm so happy to see that, that basically all of the players that I normally see, which would be Sarah Lester, Ms. Calistro, and everyone else around who've been working on this to make certain that our young people always have somewhere to go. So this is actually added on to the Lifelines brand, which is part of their helping out children who age out of foster care. This is something else. This is something different. It's for the homeless youth. And then the last thing is I wanted to make certain that people were aware that we have a meeting coming up. Bayard Square has a meeting on April 12th, which is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. It will be at the Turner's Club again. The address is 701 South Clayton Street. I hope to see you there. We definitely will be putting out flyers this weekend. Hope for no rain. And I hope that you'll get a chance to come out. Oh, I won't have another meeting before then. So Browntown will actually have a meeting on the 19th also. April 19th at 6:30 p.m. at the Former Girls Inc. 1019 Brown Street. So we're going to be busy. I hope to see you there.
All right, thank you. Councilman Field.
Mr. President, I want to mention 3 events. The first one, I want to make sure that any listeners and viewers are aware that the Art Loop has returned after 2 years being canceled due to COVID. I was there last Friday. If you're new in town, it's a very fun event. It's an open house at about 15 art venues all around the city, all different neighborhoods, first Friday of each month. And the next one will be Friday, May 6th. And if you want to find out more details, see the website, which is quite good at www.artloopwilmington.org. And then the second event, another iconic city event, also returns after 2 years away due to COVID, and that's the Flower Market. It will be held at Rockford Park from Thursday, May 5th through Saturday, May 7th. And then third, another one of my colleagues mentioned it, but the citywide cleanup on April 23rd. And it's taking place in all different neighborhoods. But if you happen to live in the Trolley Square area and are looking to get more involved in our neighborhoods, it will be Saturday, the 23rd, meeting at Kelly's Logan House at 9 o'clock. That will be the cleanup for the Trolley Square neighborhood. And I hope to see some viewers out there. That's all I have tonight, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes, Mr. President, I just wanted to remind folks that next week, the children are on their Easter break or their spring break. I know my teenager is. So let's try to find ways to engage them, get them to volunteer, do things, and just keep an eye out, make sure they're not getting into trouble. And also want to, for those that practice, wish folks a happy Easter, because we will not meet again until after Easter. And there are some activities around the holiday, and one of them is happening Saturday, April 16th at Woodlawn Park Baseball Field from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be an Easter egg hunt, and it starts at 12:30 p.m. You could go to rcbaseball.sporting.com to get information. And also just to remind you that the Roberto Clemente League is still not too late if you want to get your boys and girls involved in playing baseball, no matter what age. It's just a great, healthy way to get them engaged in sports, keep them busy. As well, I'm sure that other communities are doing Easter egg hunts, so be on the lookout for opportunities to engage in the community, come out, check in on your neighbors, sure that the seniors have what they need. And hopefully we'll be out of this cold, long drawn out winter. As soon as the rain goes away, hopefully we can start enjoying some warm weather. And just wishing my colleagues a happy Easter for those who celebrate. And thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mills.
Nothing further, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Walsh, I think you're still on. I'm not sure if you had any petition and communications. I think you asked to be excused earlier, but I think I still see your name. They want to pass you by if you do. And if not, just want to remind my colleagues and the community that again, we're going to be back in committee room and council chambers beginning in May. So we welcome everyone to come down and participate in council chambers and again in our committee room. Again, those meetings will be back in the city county building on 8th and French Streets beginning in May. And I think Councilwoman McCoy needs a few minutes.
Oh, no, even if you got a chance to say it, I just wanted to say congratulations to Justice Jackson. I just wanted to make certain that someone got a chance to say it.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so again, beginning in May, we'll be back in council chambers. So please come and participate. We do want to thank everyone who has joined us virtually and been engaged. Now you have a chance to do so live in person. I also want to say happy belated birthday to my mom. She celebrated her birthday last week, and happy birthday to my dad who celebrates his birthday tomorrow, and to my daughter who celebrates her birthday next Friday. And we're having a birthday party for my dad tomorrow at the Congo Legacy Center from 5 to 10. If you want to come by and just wish him a happy birthday, everyone is invited. So please come. Again, that's tomorrow from 5 to 10, 501 West 28th Street. And with that, again, I want to thank everyone who has joined us this evening, and thank you for your continued engagement. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Have a good night, everyone.
All in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone, who joined us. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.